Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. It was not a coincidence for Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General of ODM Party, to be hosted by Citizen TV today, by Citizen TV on this Tuesday, a day after Raila Odinga was actually interviewed by NTV, where Odinga fumbled to defend William Samoei Arap Ruto. And I paid attention to the Sifuna interview in this channel. And from that interview, what I have actually captured there is a clear message that if ODM is going to split, it is going to split on the decision as to whether to support or break ranks with William Ruto. So Raila Odinga will have to choose to rescue ODM from the split or allow ODM to split with a thinking that probably he will remain with the majority. Time is of essence in this podcast. To vindicate this podcast, kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos. And thank you very much for supporting this podcast. Subscription is absolutely free. There's nothing deducted from your account when you subscribe to a channel. The advantage here is, apart from boosting our revenue stream, which also helps this channel, you're also going to get notifications whenever we publish our well-researched and detailed analysis. And I thank you for always saying, I don't want to miss this podcast. Whenever someone calls and says, Kevin, I don't want to miss this podcast, you don't need to. You just need to subscribe. Let me tell you, I listened to almost 1 hour interview between Yvonne Okwara and Edwin Sifuna. And from the first point, Edwin Sifuna, I think the objective of that interview, I think the editor and the team that crafted what will be the objective of that interview, they were so keen on what they wanted to achieve. And the only thing they wanted to know is whether Sifuna and Raila Odinga are speaking in one voice. And from the first question here,
is ODM headed in the right direction with the current arrangement and the current status?
Let's just say that there's a lot of confusion. I have told my party leader that there was a time when it was very easy to be SG of ODM. You would wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me anything, because what we agreed is that you can compromise on tactics, but you can never compromise on your values. There is things that ODM stands for. If you woke me up in the middle of the night and asked me my position on devolution, my position on rights and Article 37, for instance, I would give you an answer straight away. But right now, there is a lot of confusion, because I come to these shows and to the media and in those public barazas, and I struggle to explain that we're the same political party. Then you will see a member of ODM who maybe used to hold a premier position, now is a cabinet secretary, say the exact same opposite. It leaves our support very, very confused. And I want to apologize to members of ODM today for all the confusion we as a leadership have caused, because it is very difficult now to discern the position of ODM on major issues. And that is the biggest sadness, because it should be easy. It should be easy. When a member of ODM proposes a bill saying, oh, we want to limit the rights under Article 37, what is ODM without Article 37?
Sifuna admitting that indeed ODM is in shambles due to confusion. In that interview, there is something I've realized. Within the ODM party, there are only 2 communication points for the party. The only 2 people can speak the position of the party. It's either Raila Odinga, the party leader, or Edwin Sifuna, the spokesperson of the party. And on this interview, The first 1 hour of it, I paid attention to the first 1 hour of it. The other part, I think it was, I didn't expect, there's nothing new that Sifuna was going to say, because if it is about the extrajudicial killings, the other things, he had pronounced himself on that. So I was so keen on this part of the ODM party with him. And there are two profiles, there are two axes in ODM. There is a Raila axis, and believe me, there is a Sifuna axis. And that Sifuna axis is not based, there is a question he was asked. And this question was about, you support the ODM party, and ODM party has gotten to a deal with William Ruto, which you don't subscribe to. Why don't you resign? I wanted to listen to his response. Of course, accepting that he will throw in the title Akishindwa. But before accepting, there is something he said upon Yuma that I want you to get, and I'm going to analyze a bit of that.
On TV was with you. The reason I will not resign yet is because I've not given up yet. I have not given up on members of ODM, because ODM is a mass movement, Yvonne. ODM has a followership, a registered membership of over 5 million people. And when you speak to a majority of those people, there is still belief and trust within the ranks of the party that Baba knows what is right for the people, that he will do the right thing, and that the vast majority of the members of the party believe in themselves and in their ability to pull this train back on its tracks. You will listen to what we in Parliament say, but ODM has a total complement of about 106 elected members of Parliament. Compare that to the 5 million in the grassroots there who have given support to this political party for years. Secondly, many of us, like I personally, speaking as Sifuna, I have known one political leader all my life. I tell the story of how I became interested in politics in 2002. I was at the university. We were the kids who were singing Yote Yawezekana Bila Moi. I have not listened to another political leader, including those ones who ran around from Maushago. I have listened to Raila Odinga all these years, and ODM as an institution, Yvonne, has existed for 20 years. It takes a lot of blood and sweat and pain to build an institution the size of ODM and to have that longevity for all that time. You cannot just give up and say you are going to quit on all that membership. But I want to say here that on the day that I give up, I will tell you, I will say it publicly that I have lost the battle to rescue this party and to bring it back to where it was. And we will have lost collectively as members of ODM, because I cannot do this thing on myself or on my own. So the day I give up, I will let the country know that I tried my best, but I lost that battle, and then we will take decisions from there.
Yes, there is something he said, that ODM is a movement of more than 5 million members. So what Raila must question today, from what Sifuna said, if Sifuna is to leave the party, and of course, I'm glad that he's made it clear that if he fails to rescue the party from the vultures of Kenya Kwanza, then he will have no option but to give up. But the question should be, if he leaves the party, he shall have left because of ideology. How many people, it's not about following Sifuna, but how many people will exit the party on that ground? Huge chunk, the support base. And that part is interesting. And I think is consistent. Prior to even this, Sifuna was in the Senate. And prior to this interview, just earlier on Tuesday, he was in the Senate and taking on William Ruto head on directly. I think his position is very clear that nothing can change. As whether you support Ruto now, or you support him tomorrow, or you change, nothing gonna change, and anything to rig the next election is going to bring more troubles.
The reason we insist that we need to build a country that works for all of us is that no one is safe until everybody is safe. You have heard from Nandi You have heard from Marsabit, the senator for there, also saying that senior civil servants are also being disappeared. And this is why we must resolve this question for all of us. Honorable Speaker, lastly, in 2007, I was one of those young people who were saying one term to Kibaki because we wanted him to go home. And we voted to take Kibaki home, Honorable Speaker. We were very shocked when we were told that our vote does not matter, that someone sitting somewhere can actually alter the results at the ballot. Honorable Speaker, there is very irresponsible talk from leaders telling us that in 2027, if the votes for William Ruto will not be sufficient, they will steal for him. And the NCIC has just kept quiet. With that history of 2007, Honorable Speaker, the precursor of the violence was in the interference with the will of the people. And I want to join those who are saying, Honorable Speaker, because we've been told to wait for a democratic opportunity to remove the current government. If we exercise that democratic right and then you go and mess it up the way they're threatening to do, this country will be on fire like it was in 2007. And we don't fear saying it. So, Honorable Speaker, if the NCIC, the IEBC that has just recently been sworn in, cannot even summon these leaders, because as I understand the law on election offenses, you cannot be saying that.
Now, to show you that there is a bigger problem, and I think I don't have the range to advise Sifuna, but just to look at there is a bigger problem. He's admitting that at some point, Raila Odinga and the team told them, and him as the SG of the party, to lead some people to review the agreement with William Ruto, and he refused.
Yeah.
Have you told this to your party leader?
I have spoken with Baba. I have explained to him my frustrations, the difficulties of having to explain what we are doing with this rogue regime, the confusion that has come upon my mind because this is not what I was taught. You know, me, I don't know how I can explain. Because I've told you I've only known one leader. I've only known one political party. I know what this party stands for. So every time there is things that are at odds with what I have been taught, have been conditioned to believe, then the confusion becomes too much for me. So I have expressed that.
And what does he say in response?
So there is many private conversations, the details of which that I cannot share. But for you and your viewers, just know that there is nothing that I can say publicly that I have not said privately to my party leader. And I have a lot of respect for him. He's molded me into the person that I am. And even today, he continues to listen to objections. By the way, it's not just Sifuna who objects to some of these things. Feedback comes from across the country because Baba has the best, possibly the best grassroots network in this country. Recently, we had another meeting, and there was a proposal to have a team to review the implementation of this MOU. I have asked respectfully that I be left out of that team because I have already declared this MOU dead. I have already done so publicly. So there is no point. I'm not a mortician. There's no point of me going to go through a document that I've already declared dead. And the reason I declared this MOU dead is because the initial argument for entering into this MOU was twofold. First of all, it was for the sustenance of life. For the sustenance of life, that we were losing people unnecessarily. That can we all agree that this is not something we need to continue doing? We need to stop killing our people. That was the first argument. The second argument was the sustenance of the democratic state. So Ruto is getting his end of the bargain because the democratic state is being sustained at least until 2027. But our people are not getting there. They're still being killed. So on the day that Albert Ojwang dies in a police cell, to me, this agreement is dead because it doesn't matter what else you do, Albert will not be able to enjoy that.
Okay.
He refused. Why? Because from the word go, he stopped defending that BBG deal. And I think I really agree with Sifuna on this basis. How do you look at, I want you to look at the kind of PR process, the PR game that the state played with Albert Ojwang's death. The AG Legat resigned, and there's a letter that was leaked in public that, he had stepped aside, not resigned, he had stepped aside and was not, and even someone was picked to be acting, to be in acting capacity to pave the way for investigations. 18 days later, he goes back to the office, and the case is presented in court. He actually says that he didn't resign, or rather he didn't step aside. He actually took some leave, and he was on some holiday. So there was nothing that he left the office. Look at that. Look at the kind of PR game. When Talam was taken to the Central OCS, was charged by, linked to Albert Ojwang's killing. Another story was harvested here about his phone under IPOA, and then someone, I don't know, infiltrated, took the phone and solicited money, and though he sued IPOA. Now, as I talk, the court session is not about Albert Ojwang's death. The court session has been diverted to now Talam now demanding justice, that someone infiltrated his phone and solicited money from his friends and family. So ile mambo ya Ojwang hata sasa iko, wataongea ile simu ya Talam venye ilikuwa under IPOA, someone akaitumia kwa IPOA kuombaomba pesa, and now that is the agenda. You'll understand Nani's point of view when Sifuna says, and he says that that document that was signed, the document that was signed between William Ruto and Raila Odinga was actually misused, because it was actually a PR disaster for ODM, and he was against the public signing. I know I've been telling you guys here, there is something Sifuna said that alijua wakati hiyo kitu Ruto, he advised ODM not to go to the formal signing because that was going to be a PR disaster and ODM will not get out of it. Immediately, there was a photo taken of Ruto Raila in KCC signing something. The next time, William Ruto was on top of car, talking about how they're working with Raila and how they're supposed to do this and that. There was a big PR campaign on that document. The same thing that happened after he went, met Uhuru Kenyatta. The next day, he made calls to people, appointed to cabinet, and then newspaper headlines are sponsored to say Uhuru Kenyatta has joined Broadbase. Look at all that. Look at all that. And ODM is in a deep crisis. Sifuna is saying the party is struggling to get candidates, even in the current by-elections. By-elections were announced. Yeah, there are by-elections in different places coming. There is Magarini in Kilifi. There is in Ugenya, the Kasipul one. I think there is another one. They're struggling to get one in Nairobi. They're really trying to get one in Nairobi, and I have a good analysis about that you're going to get. There is Malava and others. Now, ODM is struggling to get candidates for Banisa and Malava. And in fact, in Embu, they don't have a candidate.
I am telling you, personally as Sifuna, we want a government that will respect the rule of law, that will respect human rights and the dignity of the people of Kenya.
Does this government do that?
This government surely does not. This government is killing the people. This government does not listen to the people. This is the worst possible government. If you go back to the spirit of the Constitution in 2010, this is the worst possible government we would have envisaged. It's the direct opposite of what we wanted. So I hear William Ruto has succeeded in bullying these guys in the opposition, Kina Kalonzo, into, he says, these people just say one term, they don't have any agenda. I want William Ruto to know that his removal from office is a national priority agenda. It is the only agenda, because his government is totally opposed to everything that this constitution stands for. And I want these people to be bold. Don't be bullied. You don't have to. He wants to push you into a corner where you are discussing markets. Tell Albert Ojwang about markets and roads. In my ranking, removing Ruto is top. It's even higher than getting a second terminal at JKIA or dualing Malaba to Mombasa.
And how would we do that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's talk about that, because there's those calls for one term.
Yeah.
The president, on the other hand, calls those calls unconstitutional.
They are not unconstitutional.
So,
these terms are granted by the public. I've told you we are the sovereign. Yeah. If we decide to give you one term, we will give you a term. If we decide to give you half a term, we impeach you. I mean, it is in the Constitution. And you can also resign midway from public pressure. We have seen it happen. We have seen it happen that governments have collapsed under the weight of the pressure of the people. Because once people have rejected you, they have rejected you. It is a constitutional way to remove somebody midterm. Yeah.
And one of those would be impeachment, as you said.
Correct.
Do you think Parliament is sufficiently independent to do that, if that is what the people would ask them to do? And you sit in the Senate, which would be a very important player in this.
Personally, if he was sent to the Senate, I would impeach him without blinking. The way the other one who was sent to us was impeached.
They're struggling with the candidates because the ticket is not as attractive as it was before. I've listened to Sifuna, and this is what I can see. That at that age, I don't want to put myself as an expert, but I think I stand more as a political. I make my statement based on political observations. I've seen how ODM is behaving around all this. And before ODM destroys himself, he must get an exit route. Because either way, an exit will be very important. The ODM party is captured deeply by the state, and is a big capture. Even a commission of inquiry is what can unravel the kind of capture within the ODM party. And because of that capture, Sifuna must understand this, that it is in the business of William Ruto to destroy young, promising politicians, young leaders around William Ruto that will even pose a threat to the 2032 transition. Yes. He does not want these people to sprout. And I can tell you that is why, after acting like he was molding Kimani Ichung'wah and Ndindi Nyoro and Rigathi, he impeached Rigathi. Those are the three frontrunners. I want to see how they've been destroyed. He impeached Rigathi. Started to destroy Rigathi. Rigathi is reinventing himself. He dumped Ndindi Nyoro. I still don't believe whether they're not even in terms. And then there is Kimani Ichung'wah. You listen to the kind of statements Kimani Ichung'wah is making of attacking Mama Dorcas, and you wonder, are these the people who are really being molded to be the next leaders? And ODM is in the business of making sure, including a close associate of Raila, to destroy the young, promising leaders. That is why, when you're close to Babu, you will understand that Babu does not need the ODM ticket. And if it is forced down his throat, he will actually vomit it. Because the ODM, as we stand now, when you stick the other side, when you go the other side and defend the oppressor of the people, remember, in politics, you can only sustain your relevance when you remain with the people. That's why Raila has sustained his relevance for all that time. You always try to stick with the people. So without that, things are not going on. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I think from this, Sifuna has made it clear and has declared what exactly Raila cannot tell the Kenyan people. Thank you.